What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 24 driver career, and we are finally here in Formula 1 for round number 1 of our first season driving for HAAS F1 team. If you didn't watch the previous video, we went through a full recap of everything that happened in our Formula 2 season to get to this point. If you've not watched that yet, I absolutely would recommend it. And yeah, here we go, time to get into things. You can see we've got our teammate rivalry with Nico Hülkenberg. We got an email from Ayao Komatsu, and we've also got a teammate from Mark about the specialists, and here we are assigning a specialist goal. We're going to go for participating in or skipping / simulating 3 sessions during the race weekend. It's a bit more ambitious than completing the race weekend, but I think we should be able to beat both of these without any real issues. There's no other specialists at the team this weekend. I think the majority of them are coming in for the next weekend, and then we'll have the usual 4 after that point. We've got the all brand new recognition system. You can see based on the contract we went for, we currently have 47% to us versus 53% to Nico Hülkenberg. I'm hoping that we will be able to tilt the scales maybe slightly in our favour as the first few races go on, but we'll have to see how we perform compared to Nico Hülkenberg. Of course, we've also got accolades, which are a new thing in the game as well, which sort of track how many of each sort of different milestone we've achieved, that kind of thing. So we've got race starts, qualifying performance, race performance, podiums, and points. I think all of these will be something that we can focus on in the future. Apart from maybe championship points, if we have some good performances, I could see us reaching that one this season. Other than that, I think feasibly, maybe we could get 10 top 10 finishes this season. Other than that, I don't think we've got a hope in hell of achieving basically any of those accolades this season. So those are going to be thinking much more long term, I think. We have, of course, our rivalries. The only one that we've got to worry about right now is the teammate rivalry between myself and Nico Hülkenberg. Of course, as they always say in Formula 1, the first benchmark that you're always matched against is that teammate of yours. In this case, I've picked Nico Hülkenberg because he was just an absolutely amazing driver to me growing up. I've always been a huge fan of him since I was about 10 years old. Always been rooting for him no matter what team he's been driving at. And when I heard that he was coming to HAAS, I was already a big fan of HAAS, and that kind of just made me absolutely 100% sure that was the team I was going to be cheering for going forward. Obviously I'll still be a fan of them even after Hülkenberg sets sail to Sauber for next season, but yeah, I will be focusing primarily on that HAAS team, I think. So yeah, we have a bit more of a detailed breakdown of the rivalry. You can see all this information here about which sort of things we're looking at to determine who's going to be the better driver in the rivalry. So the number of championship points, podiums, qualifying results, best qualifying positions, finishing positions, and also where each person finishes in the race as well. So I don't know how long the rivalry is going to go on for, but we'll have to wait and see. We've got the performance index, of course. This is not new to the game, but I thought I would show you this anyway so you can see where we stack up in the pecking order. I think HAAS were a bit higher up from what I remember, or maybe they've been a bit lower down actually in the initial performance index, but you currently sit as the 8th fastest car on the grid, slightly behind Alpine, a little bit behind RB. So I feel like Alpine are going to be the team that we're going to be competing with to try and finish sort of in the sort of top 12, 13 cars at most races, and then in the occasional crazy race maybe compete with them for the occasional points finish. Obviously, if we can contend with RB to be sort of that sort of Yuki Tsunoda type character that's getting themselves into the points on regular weekends, capitalizing on the misfortune of maybe 1 or 2 drivers in that sort of upper 5 teams. I think Aston Martin's gap over the bottom 5 is still pronounced enough that I will see Fernando Alonso finishing up there the majority of the time, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lance Stroll does as well, just because in the game he typically is that little bit more consistent and performs a little bit better than he does in real life as well. But here we are going to get into the grid reveal now. This is a cutscene which I had a lot of speculation about before we actually get to this point, because I wasn't sure if it was going to insert your driver into it or not, but as you can see, you probably saw there for a split second the back of my head, and we will see for a second when everybody does line up on the grid, we have all of the teams. So here we go. You got the Mercedes, the Ferraris, the McLarens, the Aston Martins, the Alpines, you've got the Williams and the Red Bulls, or the RBs I should say, the Kicksaubers, and there we are, the final team, because they wanted to show Red Bull last, I guess. But the quote-unquote worst team on the grid, supposedly, there will be myself and Nico Hulkenberg in that HAAS. And indeed, yeah, I am on the grid with HAAS, which is, still absolutely surreal to say. So I'm very much looking forward to this one. Finally, we have enough resource points to actually do an R&D upgrade. We do have those reduced gains of all the resources imaginable. I was thinking about going for the engine upgrade there, but in the end I've gone for the gearbox upgrade. A lot of people say you shouldn't worry about durability initially. Personally, for me, I get so frustrated when you have these mechanical failures or when you have to take loads of grid penalties in Season 1 that I honestly don't even care if I'm at the back half the time, because it's going to be such a rare occasion that we are going to be getting ourselves into a position where we might score points in a race anyway. I would rather find ourselves in that position with the confidence that the car isn't going to fail underneath us. The Ferrari power unit in previous years' games has been notorious for being a bit more unreliable than the other power units. So I'm just trying to cover my own bases, basically, and make sure that we are not going to be susceptible to any more failures than we absolutely have to be. The less grid penalties we can take, the better. And now we are involved in the race weekend. So yeah, a few sort of housekeeping bits first and foremost, a few sort of fluff emails that we don't really need to care about. You can do R&D and you can do all of these other things, and here's the track layout and the tyre allocations and all these kind of things. You can see we are bottom of the Drivers' Championship, bottom of the Teams' Championship, because they did, of course, finish last in that Drivers' Championship in the previous season. And then, of course, yeah, we are the only rookie on the grid this season. I think, of course, the first drivers that I will be comparing myself against will therefore have to be last season's rookies, particularly Logan Sargent, because he is obviously, the driver who is in a slightly closer team to us comparatively. So as long as I think we're outperforming Logan Sargent week in, week out, I'll be very happy with that. Try and outperform some of the other, maybe slightly lesser performing drivers on the grid. Drivers like Zhou Guanyu, for example, I feel like has to be a good sort of benchmark for us as well. And it's now time for us to get into the race weekend. I will shut up and let Natalie Pinkham get on with it.
Unknown before we get underway. So what will be going through the drivers' minds as they get ready for the new season?
The faster you can work around the circuit conditions and get the car tailored to your liking, the better, and then you can just focus on the job in hand in terms of lap times. But first of all, you've got to get the car feeling right.
What an incredible practice session. The fun doesn't stop here though. Join us again as the rest of the weekend unfolds.
So yeah, we had first practice and that was all well and good. Honestly, I didn't do very well in here, and at this point I was thinking to myself, okay, well maybe my suspicions have been confirmed here, because we will scroll the whole way down and you can see that I was 20th and I was a few tenths off the pace. If anything, I was just happier that I wasn't further off the pace. Because when I initially did challenge career mode on this kind of difficulty a few weeks ago now, when the game initially came out, I got absolutely stomped by the AI. So yeah, I was a bit concerned about that. But it seems like maybe we will be slightly more competitive than I thought. Obviously, the target for qualifying here has to just simply be to out-qualify Nico Hulkenberg. That's the goal here. If we can out-qualify our far more experienced senior teammate, that would make me very happy. So we will see what we can do as we make our way into the first qualifying session. Now, of course, in Formula 2, there was one qualifying session, one set of tyres. Now we have as many as 5 sets of tyres to take part in up to 3 qualifying sessions. So yeah, it's a lot more of a strategic game. We went out on a fresh set of soft compound tyres initially, and I did actually go out on a second set of fresh soft compound tyres, but my 129.5 was actually good enough for P6 in the session. So I didn't even need an improvement, which was fortunate because I didn't get it. We did a 129.6 on our second flying lap on another fresh set of soft compound tyres. But yeah, that was a massive outperformance from what I was expecting. Maybe just the AI didn't go as fast as they could have done in that session or something like that. But P6 is a remarkable performance in Q1. I still think we will really struggle to get out of Q2. But well, you're about to see, we have already achieved the goal we set out for ourselves of beating Nico Hulkenberg. I wanted it to be a bit more competitive than that, but we've out-qualified him by nearly a full second there just based off our Q1 performance. If we can go even faster in Q2 and Q3, we could be really on for a great weekend here, potentially. If we can get ourselves through to Q3 based on the pace we showed here in Q1, that would be absolutely amazing. Personally, I don't see it happening, but we will see if that is the case or not as we go around on a used set of soft compound tyres now, and we'll see what kind of time we can do. You can see Max Verstappen is still in a league of his own. That time he did there was still almost a full second faster than my best time in Q1, and you can see we did a 1:30.5 this time, so we've got about a second in hand here potentially if we can find it on our second flying lap, and we will need to on this occasion because we're all the way down in P14. The only driver that was faster than was the Williams of Alex Albon, who supposedly we are in a faster car than anyway, but you can see we're improving by quite a lot, and we are 5 tenths up on Fernando Alonso in an Aston Martin right now going into the final sector. So if I can, deliver a consistent final sector here and not completely throw this away, we should be finding ourselves getting through into Q3 here, which would be absolutely astounding. Bahrain's a good track for me, but I didn't think it was this good. As we crossed the line, we improved by nearly a second, and that is not only good enough to see us through, it's good enough for P5. We've actually finished in a higher position in Q2 than we did in Q1. This is unbelievable. And now, we have to wait and see what kind of performance we can deliver in Q3. Max Verstappen still nearly a second faster than me there. Carlos Sainz was 6 tenths off of Verstappen, so I think it's just a Verstappen thing. Ocon, Alonso, Stroll, Tsunoda and Albon knocked out there. They join, Nico Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, Logan Sargent and the 2 Kick Saubers, and now we will make our way into Q3 and see if somehow we can deliver a good performance here. We got kind of blocked a little bit there by George Russell. He locked up into the final corner and kind of threw me off a little bit, so it wasn't the best of runs, but we still did a 1:30.2 on a used set of soft compound tyres, so I was pretty happy with that, but it was only good enough for P10, so we are going to need a bit of improvement here. I think Ricciardo has to be the benchmark here, right? If we can out-qualify Daniel Ricciardo, I think I'll be very happy with that, because obviously he's the only other one that's sort of punching in this session, I suppose, at the expense of... I don't even know who it is at the expense of. I guess the Aston Martins. Me and him being here is at the expense of the 2 Aston Martins. So, I feel like if I can out-qualify Ricciardo, that would be the ideal situation, but I don't think we'll be much higher up than that, because we're 2 tenths down on Charles Leclerc into the final sector. So unless we have a really good final sector here, I think the best position we're going to be finding ourselves in is probably going to be about P8 here, maybe P7 if we're very lucky and get ahead of Russell. But we'll see what it's going to be as we cross the line. It's a 1:29.0, and that is going to be good enough for P4. Oh my goodness. What a qualifying result that was.
Goodbye for now then. We're really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
I mean, I am in disbelief at that. Talk about showing up. I mean, look, I know that a lot of people expected I was going to be coming into this really hot, but, fourth wall breaking for a second, there's no way I should be able to do this on 102 AI. Absolutely no way. I don't know where this performance has come from, and this might just be a qualifying thing. We'll see whether we can get a good result in the race or not as we get into the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Months of rumour and speculation all comes to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. We'll be racing around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit today. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left down into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday and he'll start from pole position. A very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Hamilton, Robinson, Perez, Leclerc, Russell, Ricciardo, Norris, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Tsunoda, Albon, Gasly, Bottas, Hülkenberg, Sargent and Zhou Guanyu. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes, delighted to say that we're joined today by Anthony Davidson. Well, welcome back. Let's start with a nice, easy question. How do you stop Max Verstappen?
That's what they're hoping for. And that's what we're hoping for as well in some ways, because we don't want to see just one driver or one team running away with it this season like we had last year or even the years gone by in this sport. Can we get to see a two-way or even a three- or four-way fight throughout this race today? Fingers crossed we'll get that.
Well, we have a big task on our hands today. We are going to be inspecting the strategy first and foremost, and based on our practice performance, they actually believe we can do a one-stop here. The prevailing strategy is going to be a two-stop by the looks of things. The tyre wear maybe just a little bit too high. They project you can probably only do about 9 laps on the medium compound of tyre, but because I have that slightly better performance on my tyres than the other drivers, they are projecting that I might be able to take a set of mediums for 11 laps and yeah, maybe do a one-stop here as opposed to everyone else who I think will be doing a two-stop. But it did make me slightly nervous to see I was basically the only person around me starting on the hard compound tyres. So we are going to have to work very hard in this race to maintain any semblance of pace here. I think the target realistically has to be points. You know, let's not overinflate this target. You know, let's not say, oh yeah, I'm going to gun for a podium or the win in my first race, because I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, if we can get points on debut, I will be very, very happy with that. We are starting next to, you know, a driver who some might argue is the greatest Formula 1 driver of all time. This is massive pressure on our shoulders, and we will see if we can rise to the occasion as the lights come on and the lights go out. And we've had an okay getaway here, but really on the hard compound tyre it was never going to go that well for us, and already we've been absolutely swamped by 4 or 5 cars there by those things: Leclerc, Perez, Russell, Norris, all of them trying to get ahead of us. We have no choice but to cut the corner to avoid going into the side pod of Sergio Perez, and we are down 4 positions off the start already, down into P8, and now it's just going to be a case of can we stay in the position we currently find ourselves in for as long as we possibly can. I tried to attack Lando Norris around the outside, but look, we're on the hard compound tyre, everybody else is on the mediums or softs, and we are not in a particularly fast car either. This is something we have to remind ourselves of. Our qualifying performance was an overachievement. It was not by any means a performance that should be, you know, replicated in the race. Over the course of 29 laps, do I think that we can have that metronomic consistency to be able to challenge the drivers around us? No, quite frankly, I don't. I think P11 would probably be the sort of, you know, the target result here based on that, because I do still think that the Aston Martins have good enough race pace to be able to finish ahead of a car like mine. But I do think that we have a good chance of beating both the RBs and the Alpines here today, who, you know, realistically do have a decent level of performance compared to us. Obviously, Williams and Sauber slightly behind us in that performance chart, but yeah, the Alpines and the RBs slightly ahead of us. I do think that if we can beat them, we can show that maybe we can start punching above where we realistically should be. But yeah, we will see what kind of performance we can deliver. We managed to hold on to P8 after that initial start. We didn't lose position or anything. I was struggling a little bit, but fortunately we are going to get the DRS to the cars in front, Russell and Norris, who you know, they are going to have quite significantly better pace than I am. And as we make our way towards the end of lap number 2 here, you can see Lando Norris's teammate Oscar Piastri. He is going to look for a bit of a move on us by the looks of things. He's going to try and get himself up into P8 here after well, I can only assume it was a difficult start, because I didn't think he even qualified that badly from what I understand. But yeah, Oscar Piastri making his way up into P8. He will get ahead of us, and I thought Fernando Alonso was going to look for a move there as well. He's made his way up into P10 as well. So yeah, as I predicted, the Aston Martins with some very strong race pace around here, but we will see whether they are good enough to you know, beat us here. There's a yellow flag in front. I'm not quite sure who that's for, but we will find out in just a moment, as we come under a bit of a threat once again from Fernando Alonso here, and I think he's going to make his way through. And it's Max Verstappen. If you look off to the right of your screen now, you can see smoke pouring out of the back of Max Verstappen's Red Bull. The world champion is out. On the first race of the season, the world champion will take part in 3 laps before his car gives up. And well, maybe, just maybe, especially looking at the track map right now, we could be on for a repeat of the 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix, where of course Ferrari famously got that 1-2 after a DNF from Max Verstappen. yeah, I mean, maybe potentially we could have a bit of a championship fight on our hands. Who knows? Obviously, 2022, after they got that 1-2, I'm sure you all remember, we had a really exciting championship fight that materialised, and Max Verstappen did not dominate the championship and win it with about 5-6 races to go. So, yeah, hopefully we can get similar to that this season as Esteban Ocon capitalises on the fact that Russell was holding me up a little bit there. The Frenchman now looking for a move to get past us here, and I don't know if we're going to be able to hold on to this forever. You have to remember, he is on the soft compound tyres still. He is going to have that slightly stronger performance compared to us. We're going to hold on for dear life if we can to keep Ocon behind. But if we do lose this position, it's not the end of the world, because you have to remember, we will still be in the points. After Verstappen's DNF, this has handed us a potential lifeline here, although I reckon Ocon is one of the drivers that we will have to beat here today if we want to score points on our debut. You know, he is obviously in the 7th best car on the grid according to Performance Index at least, but right now he's punching his way up ahead of a HAAS and an RB, both RBs actually, and one of the Aston Martins as well. We've been set an objective here to conserve our engine temperature. So far, I haven't really seen us getting up into the temperatures it's suggesting that we need to stay below, so I think this should be a fairly straightforward objective to hold on to, as we come under a bit of pressure here from Esteban Ocon. I think eventually he is going to pull this move off for real. We tried really hard to fight with him and hold on to the position, but eventually it just wasn't feasible, and we're going to have to settle for P10 for the time being. But if we can stay with him, maybe we can wait for his tyres to go off a little bit and get ourselves into a good position to hopefully get ourselves back into P9. Don't forget, of course, everyone here today, apart from myself, as far as I know, is doing a 2-stop as well. So, yeah, as long as we don't fall within, out of that pit stop range of them, or after these cars have pitted, we, fall behind them, we should be able to beat basically anyone here. So, it's a 20-second gap is what we're really looking at. As you can see, there was a bit of a yellow flag behind there. I think that's for one of the Saubers who's maybe had a bit of a spin at turn 13. As we come under more pressure from Lance Stroll, he put a bit of pressure on us on the previous lap as he attacked us, and now he is going to push us out of that top 10. But I think the strategy could still prevail here for us today. We'll have to wait and see. As you can see, Ocon has braked very deep into the first corner, locked up, and surely that is not going to be good for those soft compound tyres that he is running. I think for these guys, we can't be too far away from the first pit stop, because the soft compound tyres are only projected to do up to 9 laps, and you can see already we're having a couple cars coming in, including Russell and Carlos Sainz, who I believe was leading the race up until this point as well. So it'll be interesting to see where he shakes out in relation to us, because this is going to obviously massively determine what kind of result we're going to get off the back of our one-stop strategy. Do I think we have a hope in hell of beating a Ferrari today? No I don't. But we did just beat our objective, and you can see Ocon locking up there. There's so much chaos that just happened in this moment. Ocon locked up. It caused Lance Stroll to brake on the apex of the corner. I had to take evasive action to avoid going into the back of him. And when I took that evasive action, Ocon was rejoining the track, and it almost sent me spinning into the barriers. Fortunately, we managed to just about fight back. We did lose a position to Daniel Ricciardo, but I'm sure that we can gain that back based on the strategy that we're running here today. So yeah, it's unfortunate to lose what was effectively 2 positions that we should have had. But Ocon and Ricciardo now will be peeling into the pits. It's still another 10 laps before we're going to be pitting, so we will have to wait and see how things are going to shake out. But for the time being, you can see it is a HAAS 1-2 here in Bahrain, only for a very short amount of time before Carlos Sainz is eventually going to overtake Nico Hülkenberg for P2, and I'm sure it will only be a matter of time before the Spaniard closes me down on much fresher tyres. I didn't realise, but it turns out Nico Hülkenberg is actually also starting out on the hard compound tyres. We'll see if he's doing a 1-stop or a 2-stop here, but if he's doing a 1-stop, I see no reason why HAAS couldn't get a double points finish here today, quite frankly. I think we've got a very good chance of getting a double points finish here in Bahrain. That would be absolutely astounding on my debut, to match the likes of Yuki Tsunoda and Zhou Guanyu and Nick De Vries and all of these drivers recently who have picked up points on their debut. And if somehow we can get a podium here today, we will be the first driver to get a podium in their debut race since Kevin Magnussen, the driver who we've replaced at this team in order to get this drive in the first place. But it is slipping away from us further and further, you can see, as Lando Norris has overtaken us, and Nico Hülkenberg, who was kind of playing back up to me a little bit at this point. We were kind of trying to we were doing a strategy where basically Nico Hülkenberg was holding up the cars that we're sort of chasing down on fresher tyres as much as possible to, you know, kind of enhance my strategy as best as possible. But eventually he did come into the pit lane, so I can only assume that Hulkenberg, you know, starting on his hard compound tyres, must be doing a 2-stop strategy here as well. So if he can get himself anywhere but last, that will be a very good performance from him. So we'll have to see how things unfold for him as we come under pressure from Charles Leclerc. He forces us out the way. I think we're actually 3 wide with Hamilton as well. Leclerc and Hamilton eventually getting back past us, and we're down into P5. Like I said, we're not targeting a podium or a win or anything like that here today. We are targeting a points finish. That is all I want. You know, if we can get multiple points, that would be absolutely astounding. But if I finish 10th or higher, I'll be very happy with the performance I've delivered on my debut here today. We have an objective here to charge our battery. I think that this should be a fairly trivial affair, just run in non-ERS mode for a little bit, and we should be absolutely fine. So as we make our way now onto lap number 14, you can see that we are very close to meeting that objective, as I'm just letting none run for a little bit. There we go. We hit the target, no real problems whatsoever, and now we can continue focusing on our strategy, which, you know, I was really impressed to see that 14-15 laps deep onto using these hard compound tyres. Yes, we're just being overtaken by Oscar Piastri now. We only had 41% tyre wear on our most worn out tyre. That was kind of surprising to me, because I was expecting that we would be very close to getting into the sort of 60% range at this point. You know, the pit stop is coming on, I believe it's lap number 17 or maybe 18 is when we're boxing. So for us to only be at 40% at this point, you know, bodes very well. It means we probably won't even get to that 60% mark. Yes, obviously the cars that are chasing me down now will have much better pace than me, but you know, once we've boxed, that will be the position that we will legitimately be in, and we're only a couple laps away from that pit stop window as well. So I think that we have a real chance here of getting a good points finish. We're being closed down by Sergio Perez and a Red Bull, but it feels kind of surreal to say that we even have a chance of sort of fighting with a Red Bull here today. You know, I definitely wouldn't have predicted that at the start of the weekend. Honestly, at the start of the weekend, I was predicting straight, you know, P20 or whatever the final position on the grid was going to be. That was where I was going to be. You know, based on the performance I'd shown in you know, previous races that I'd done at sort of a difficulty level this high, I was fully expecting I would just be absolutely stomped by the AI. So to come into this race and discover that I actually have some semblance of, you know, competitive pace on 102 AI difficulty is crazy. I actually, you know, sort of kind of funny story about it. I did a check on F1laps.com. They have a difficulty calculator, which I highly recommend for people who, you know, aren't 100% sure on what sort of difficulty they should be running in their career modes. I usually take an average time of my time trial times. I put them in F1 Laps difficulty calculator, and they told me I should be running on 104 AI difficulty based on that. And I looked at that and I went, bollocks. Absolute bollocks. There's no way I'm good enough for 104 AI difficulty. Turns out I should have trusted it, because this race, honestly, we are massively punching above our weight right now. We have stopped. We've made our one stop in this race that we're doing, and we're going to be going on this set of medium compound tyres to the end of the race. And now we get to see what kind of position we're running in. Nico Hulkenberg, you can see, has slightly gotten ahead of us here, but he will be stopping again, as will a few of the cars in front of us. I believe there is an RB ahead of us as well, which is going to be stopping again, and I believe Ocon in the what is it? The Alpine. He'll be stopping again. I'm not sure about anyone else in front, but still, that will put us into P7 potentially if we can get past all of those guys once they come into the pit lane. And actually, Lewis Hamilton is boxing again. So this is going to promote us up even one more position here by the looks of things, as we get ahead of Ricciardo, who's also coming to the pit lane there. So we're up into P8. Nico Hulkenberg still yet to stop. So this is going to promote us into P7, I believe, here, once Hulkenberg stops as well. So yeah, this is really kind of a surprise. I was honestly really expecting that we would, you know, be sort of battling for the fringes of the points. As things stand right now, if we can maintain this gap behind to Lance Stroll, we will be on for P7 here. So that would be an absolutely astounding debut in a HAAS. That would be just absolutely remarkable. We have a objective to overtake Hulkenberg. Done. Okay, no problem. Yeah, that was a bit of an easy target, quite frankly. I was always planning on lining up that move there even before they set me the target, and when I saw that the target was coming up, I was like, well, now there's absolutely no reason not to go for it. What did surprise me, however, is that on lap 24, we were right on the back of Sergio Perez. We were actually faster than Sergio Perez. I actually couldn't believe that this was true. And we're going to go down the inside of him into turn 1. Yes, there is a chance that he will fight back against us, but my goodness, if you'd have told me that I would have been battling with Sergio Perez in a Formula 1 race in my debut for HAAS, I would have not believed you. I would have said, no, this is absolute nonsense. The only driver I'll be battling today is Zhou Guanyu. That's what I'd have told you. So, yeah, the fact that we've found ourselves in a position where we are legitimately battling with Sergio Perez over P6 on the road is amazing. I do need to keep one eye out, of course, because Sergio Perez, his former teammate Lance Stroll, is closing down to the both of us quite quickly, probably at the rate of about a second a lap so far. So I imagine in these last few laps he will maybe have a bit of an input of his own in this race. But I mean, my goodness, this is just so far beyond the levels of comprehension I was expecting for a race like this. I can't emphasize it enough. I really thought, we would be like 18th at best this weekend. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get trounced by everyone that is supposed to be ahead of us in the performance index, and even probably some cars that are behind us. This is what I projected, not only for this race, but for like the entire first half of this season, until we kind of got the AI more in line with the difficulty that I was sort of expecting that we would, be racing on in F1, because usually F2 is a lot easier than F1. On this occasion, it seems that's not actually true. If anything, I think F1, just based on the evidence of this race, is slightly easier than F2, because we raced on, 95 AI difficulty in Bahrain in F2, and I nearly, I didn't score points in the sprint race, and I only managed to get P4 in the feature race as well. I qualified 16th in that, so yeah, the evidence of that would suggest that F2 is actually harder on this year's game than F1 potentially, as we come under pressure not only from Perez now, but also from Lance Stroll. But we still continue to hold on to the position. We are battling with these guys legitimately. We have the pace to, race with them, not just kind of hold them up and be a bit of a mobile chicane. I caught Sergio Perez. This is the thing you have to remember. I caught him, and as we make our way onto the final lap and getting towards the final sector, it's going to be Lando Norris picking up the W here today, amazingly. I was sure it was going to be one of the Ferraris, but it was actually Lando. He had incredible pace at times in this race. I think on one lap he, pulled away from me by about 3 seconds after he overtook me. So, yeah, not too surprised. But Stroll and Perez, they battled with each other towards the final couple of laps. They held each other up enough to kind of allow me to break away. And as we round the final corner, I cannot believe I am even saying this, but we are going to cross the line to take P6 on our Formula 1 debut in a HAAS. I think that this is going to be the highlight of our season. I can't fathom how things can go up from here. This is amazing.
A fantastic team effort then to secure victory here in the desert.
Well, all that off-season work clearly paying off here today. A brilliant way to start the season with a solid victory. It's a real good confidence boost as well, and you feel like that's going to really propel them forward through to the next race coming up.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure, and no doubt they'll be celebrating tonight.
Well, it is Lando Norris picking up the first victory of the season, capitalising on that DNF from Max Verstappen. He will be sat at home, or, well, not at home, but on the pit wall looking at the race thinking, I could have done that. And then it is the two Ferraris completing the podium. Carlos Sainz taking P2, Charles Leclerc taking P3. And, yeah, I mean, solid race from all of these guys. It'll be interesting to see whether we get a championship battle this season or not. Obviously, I don't think I'll be involved in it, but maybe I'll be a little bit closer to it than I thought I was going to be.
And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula 1.
So it is 4th place for Piastri, 5th for Alonso, 6th for myself, and then Stroll, Perez, Ocon and Gasly complete the top 10. Nico Hulkenberg managed to fight his way through from P18 to P15 in the end. He got ahead of the likes of Bottas and both of the Mercedes, who seems to have the worst race you've ever seen Mercedes have in Formula 1, finishing 18th and 19th on track. I know, obviously I know that Hamilton did that extra pit stop, but I don't know what George Russell did to warrant that. And we find ourselves not only P6 in the driver's standings, but HAAS of P4 in the constructor standings as well, ahead of Red Bull. If you'd have told me we'd have been ahead of Red Bull in the constructor standings at any point in this season, outside of they had a double DNF in the first race, I wouldn't have believed you. But yeah, we can see that the cars on this year's game, in the replay view at least, look absolutely stunning here. Lots of chaos going. I think some front wings flying there. Maybe that explains why George Russell's pace was worse. Maybe it was his front wing that got knocked off or something, but he didn't deem it enough to box. My God, I love the way that the HAAS car looks on this year's game. But yeah, now we can just relive this absolutely amazing debut in Formula 1. I came through Formula 2 and I fully believed that we were going to really struggle when we got to Formula 1. It wasn't smooth sailing for Oscar Piastri when he was initially betting into Formula 1. Other dominant Formula 2 champions haven't even had a chance to race in Formula 1, like Dragovic. George Russell as well. He always showed his talent, but he definitely didn't score points for a very long time in Formula 1 until he got that Mercedes call-up, actually, in that Sakir Grand Prix at this very circuit, quite frankly. But yeah, we just exceeded pretty much every expectation that was set for us. We comprehensively outperformed our teammate. I don't think you could even say that it was close between me and him, because the only times that me and him were even near each other on track was when our strategies kind of overlapped with one another a little bit, and he was yet to box and I'd already boxed it and that kind of thing. But yeah, I really just I can't believe that that the race has gone the way it's gone. We beat a Red Bull on pace. We beat an Aston Martin on pace. We beat both of the Mercedes on strategy. I don't know if that contact there between Hamilton and Leclerc maybe was a reason why Hamilton had the box or something. But it just seems generally like the AI are a bit more dangerous when it comes to going for moves on this year's game. And I don't doubt that's probably going to catch me out at some point. You can see we were nursing a bit of front wing damage of our own there by the looks of things. So I'm glad that didn't have a bigger impact on our aerodynamic performance. But I mean, my God, you can hear I've been enjoying commentating this race so much. I'm genuinely out of breath, and now we can see I am 5 out of 6 beating Nico Hulkenberg in this rivalry right now. And if we can continue delivering a performance like that, we will almost certainly be getting ourselves in a position where we can absolutely destroy him in the rivalry before things increase. Now, here is something you're going to find hilarious. Because of that pace glitch, my overall rating somehow went down. Don't ask me how, when all of my stats have increased by that much and my pace went down ever so slightly. Somehow, that is what's going to cause my overall rating to ever so slightly go down here. I have good news though. Literally immediately after I finished this race, I recorded this at 11 o'clock on Monday morning, or well, I finished recording this at 11 o'clock on Monday morning. Immediately after I finished this race, it literally told me, it gave me a notice as soon as I came out of career mode saying there's a patch, close your game and update it. So I was like, okay, and I looked into it, and allegedly they have fixed the issue now with that pace glitch once and for all. Initially it was giving you more pace stats, then it was giving you less pace stats. I like to believe maybe that it balanced itself out over the course of both sort of cycles that I was running in. So yeah, we will in the interest of fairness, we'll say it balanced itself out, and I am now roughly sort of where I should be based on the pace that I've shown over these race weekends. But either way, we get to see the impact this has had on our recognition. Not very much by the looks of things. Still, we are 47% plays 53%, but I'm sure once we beat him in the rivalry, and I'm going to say once because I wholeheartedly believe we have the stones to be able to beat him in the rivalry. Hopefully the recognition will shift a bit more in our favour. We completed one of the manufacturing expert goals as well, which has given us an extra 450 points in that department to work with as well, and we will see if we can continue increasing the levels of this as the career goes on. But that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.